Ta Satt. Greetings to you, Highlight. My name is Bella Isis, and I am a Pleiadian in a human body. For over 30 years, I have been in perpetual human slumber, knowing absolutely nothing of my origins or my galactic background from a planet approximately 444 light years from Earth. I also didn't know that I was an emissary of the Pleiadian civilization and that I had a lightship commander watching over me. I knew nothing about our Pleiadian crew and certainly nothing about my many missions and assignments here on planet Earth. I knew nothing. For over 30 years, my true existence was shrouded in obscurity until I was allowed to awaken from this 3D coma in 2021. Although I have always been spiritually inclined and believed in many things, such as dragons, elves, fairies, and even dwarves, I never dreamed that I would have such contact with both these magical beings and aliens. Since my childhood, I have truly manifested that magical events would happen at some point, but that they would be on such a gigantic scale surprised even me. By the way, I would like to share all my experiences with you because I have already written 5 books about my truly magical events. In the video description, I mentioned where you can find my enchanted writings. In these books, I tell you what it's like to live in the new world in 5D. Because I'm already living in the new world we are so waiting for, and I'm taking you into these events. In the last book, which is already available on Amazon in the 5th volume, I had the opportunity to meet a truly divine being that I had always known was in existence. But it's best if I tell you from the beginning. History at school wasn't that interesting to me. I admit, too many dates and useless facts. But when the professor started talking about the beings from ancient and even mystical times, I listened to her explanations for once. She talked about the gods of Greece, ancient Rome, and Egyptian mythological times. I listened with fascination as the professor talked about these gods. I hung on her every word and knew in my heart that you couldn't talk about these beings if they didn't exist. That doesn't make sense. I always knew in my heart that all these mystical gods had to exist. But I probably wouldn't have believed that I would one day meet God Anubis in person if it had been predicted to me when I was a teenager. But I might have believed it. Because we are surrounded by so many events that cannot be perceived with your physical eyes. No, you have to open your heart to the frequency of pure gratitude and allow yourself to be enchanted. However, I must confess that I had respect for God Anubis in the sense that I did not know whether he was a light or a dark being. That's why I didn't want to contact him alone. Since I talk about God Anubis in my 5th book, and also about our very first meeting. I would like to read here an extract from my writings. I turn to pages 113 and 114. Like a small child, I looked in awe, or rather humility, at this beautiful drawing of the god who has the upper body of a black jackal and the lower body of a man. As I had often thought about making contact with this being, I suspected that now was the right time. However, I had no idea who I was dealing with. Strictly speaking, I still don't know, but this god will enlighten us personally, he told me before. As this deity is considered to belong to the underworld, I was reluctant to ask any further questions. On the other hand, a lot is said about God Loki, and he is one of my closest and dearest friends. Yes, he is unique in his character, but I am also different, and so are you. I carefully placed my hand on the beautiful drawing of God Anubis and asked for protection. In my mind, I turned briefly to my reptilian teacher and asked for protection on all levels. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for your constant support. I am grateful, so very grateful. I love you very much. As I was so fascinated by this image, I spoke. I have been interested in who God Anubis is for so long. Pause in speech. God Anubis, I know you can hear me. I allow you to visit me and speak to me when you are full of light. If you are of a lower vibrational nature, I respect that too. I don't judge that fact, for you can see in me. If you are full of light, then I ask you to answer me. If you are of the dark side, know that I respect your being. I don't judge good or bad, but I ask you to come to me only when I am safe and when you are of the light side. Otherwise, please stay away. I am completely protected. This is my wish. I respect you and thank you. And I got an energetic response. It was all right to communicate with him. No harm would come to me. He was allowed to enter my house. I was so excited that such a beautiful Egyptian deity would visit me. I closed my eyes with joy and placed my hand on the god's image. As I have said many times, I can feel energies from books and also from written texts, because everything is in vibration, everything is in motion. The drawing was vibrating and pulsating when I put my hand on it and felt it. Put your hand on this page and feel what I felt, for it is embedded in my story here. You can really share in what I have been able to feel. Put your hand on it and feel the vibration of this drawing if you wish. Everything is flowing energetically into this moment. He was there. I could feel him coming closer. God Anubis was already coming through the door. The creature came closer and closer until he was standing right behind me. I raised my hand and let it touch him. For so long I wanted to make contact with Anubis, and now it was finally time. For so long I had doubted if I should let him in. For so long that wish remained unfulfilled because I had no idea if he was from the light or the dark side. And then he began to speak. I wasn't afraid of him, but the way he spoke was very different from my other companions or friends from the divine realms. He spoke a little sternly and hissed like a snake. Bella Isis, now the time has finally come. I have been waiting for this moment to contact you. Yeah, that was a short excerpt from my 5th of my magical books. You have heard an extract from chapter 14, Anubis and the Underworld. My first encounter with this great shining being was a test he gave me. I can and will tell you that God Anubis is the god of the underworld, but he explains his divine work to the people with love and humor so that they can better understand. Since I don't want to get any further into the book, I would like to tell you about today's encounter with this magical god. I was very surprised that God Anubis contacted me today. The day would be perfect. Today everything is very open of my sight. Our both portals are widened and the veils between the world and the beyond are very thin. The god wanted me to work with him today to capture this very special energy. The high being came to me to tell me personal things and to encourage me to remain trusting. I would like to thank the great being from the bottom of my heart for speaking to me so openly. I am eternally grateful. God Anubis asked me if I would agree to prepare a spontaneous recording with him today. Today would be just right. Today he wanted to continue to help people with the energy of transformation. He would also be there to help the light workers. God Anubis has been with me most of the day today. He looks beautiful and glorious. I would like to tell you how I can see him because he is so beautiful. The creature is half man and half jackal. His head looks like a wild dog's. His short hair is velvety, soft and jet black. The god has the stature of a beautiful athletic human male. His hands and muscular torso are covered with fine black hairs, almost like delicate down or the beginnings of fur. It's not really fur, It's so beautiful, I can hardly describe it. The shape is breathtakingly beautiful. The creature has a golden glow to it and is wonderfully pretty to look at. Today he wears an ancient Egyptian skirt again, but in a beige or sandy color. The clothing is simple and at the same time extremely elegant and mystical. The material, I can hardly describe it, is out of this world. It's not smooth, it has a textured surface. Beautiful, divine, breathtaking. You can also see his athletic human legs, which are also covered in delicate black hair. The creature is very magical and enchanting. Feel his energy, feel his presence. His appearance shines with a divine golden glow. The being has now come behind me and is gently and lovingly embracing me as I continue to speak to you. That's magical and it catapults me into other spheres. I am floating in the sky. Overwhelmed with gratitude, I bow my head in deepest mindfulness. The God now embraces me even more deeply, embracing me in his legendary and infinitely great love. The being says he will now let me speak a message to the human world. He will embed frequencies of his energy in my voice. God Anubis asks me to speak to you with my Pleiadian and my own frequency, but he will embed parts of himself in this message. I can begin to speak now. Dear people, don't be shy. I am God Anubis. I am known as the god of the underworld, the god of mummification, and the judge between the worlds. However, I do not need to judge you, for you will come to your own conclusions after your incarnations. There is no one to judge you directly. You will not be punished or judged for your deeds during your lifetime, nor will you have to remain in the underworld after this time. This is a fallacy and has only been instilled in you to keep you small. After your incarnation, you yourself will balance everything as it is good and right. Everything must always be in harmony. So, if you have caused suffering to your counterpart in this or another earthly life, you will also experience suffering to compensate. Remember that whatever you have sent out always comes back to you. It's not injustice, but events are being corrected so that everything can be balanced. So I'm not a judge that you have before you now. But I want to encourage you not to judge others. Why do you judge or evaluate other people's lives? I ask you, do you walk along their path? Do you see through their eyes? Do you feel what they feel? I tell you that judgments and that condemnations will not take you any further on your path. Before you are born into a human body on this planet, your soul sets out to learn certain subjects, certain events that it wants or even needs to experience here in order to mature. Let other souls follow the path they have chosen. You don't know why they act the way they do, so do not judge. Try to perceive everything without judgment. I myself look at you without judging you, without condemning you for the things you have done in your life. Focus on your own path. Stay with and within yourself. If you focus on other people's journeys, how can you clear your mind for your own issues? Stay with yourself and move forward with an open heart, in pure gratitude and out of judgment. It won't get you anywhere. I see you, each one of you, and I can motivate you not to judge others. So that you understand, let me give you an earthly example. Your neighbor has bought a new car, and you judge him or speculate whether he has too much money to afford it. You may also think that he should have chosen a different one. I ask you, what's the point of getting upset about whether your neighbor bought a new car or not? Do you see how your neighbor feels about having done this? Did you see how hard he worked and what he had to sacrifice? Even though he can easily afford it because there is enough money for this soul, is it your business why he bought a car? Do you see his motives? Do you feel what he feels? Do you see his life through his eyes? I have just given you a simplified example. You could continue this game until you get tired of it. But I really hope you have understood my earthly example. Your themes are, of course, many and various. Don't judge others if you don't understand. Go your own way and stay within yourself. Judgment and condemnation slow down your development and only come from your ego. It has no value for your soul growth. Concentrate on yourself. Stay on your path and always treat your fellow human beings with kindness, mercy and charity. You are gods in human bodies, and gods do not judge. Nor am I a judge speaking to you. You can see me as a friend who has advice for you. If your heart is open, you will understand and control your ego. Control your ego. You don't have to be right. Act in love and kindness and for the good of all. Act peacefully and attract peace to yourself. That's the law of attraction. Stay within yourself and attract only that which is to flow to you. Take my friendly advice, dear people. I am with you as a friend. I am with you with the energy of transformation. So if you are still judging, use the energy I am offering you and transform your behavior into one that brings you even closer to your divine origin. Act like gods. Be compassionate and always act with and from your heart. Yes, you know me from pictures with the scales. There is a human heart in one dish and a feather in the other. This image seems barbaric, but it is actually an image that is meant to make you reflect. Is your heart light as a feather when you judge others? Do you feel burdened or light afterwards? Be honest. I am showing you your heart on my scales right now. If you like, I am going to leave you alone with my energy for a moment. When you are a little more familiar with my vibration, I will now stand in front of you wherever you are listening to the recording. Trust that God Anubis is standing in front of you. Bell, let me speak to the light workers for a moment. Then you can continue. God Anubis now stands before you, beloved human. I am truly with you and have manifested before you. My appearance is powerful and as high as your ceiling. I must kneel before you, or I will blow up your ceiling. Acknowledge my appearance and presence with full respect. I respect you too, dear human. Now take your time and feel within yourself. Are you already out of the base behavior of judging, or are you still judging others? I am in front of you. Look at my huge scale. The feather is on the right, and your heart is on the left. Look at everything with love. No harm will come to you. Look at everything with love. Don't be afraid, for you would be afraid of yourself. So be honest with yourself. I don't judge your being, nor do I judge you yourself. Be your own judge and look into your heart. What do you see? I am going to leave you with these impressions for a moment, so that you can reflect on them. Well, I think you have seen enough. I am looking into your heart to see if your self-assessment was honest. You have now judged yourself. Work on yourself. If you have noticed anything in your actions and behavior that you need to clear up, now be more careful in your future life and be honest with yourself. If you find yourself again in a situation where you judge or condemn other people, it can easily happen that I whisper lovingly in your ear and remind you of your own scales, to your own judge within you. It may be that in certain situations you may feel impulses to lovingly remind you of my friendly advice. So, in future, if you find feathers at your feet, I will give you an impulse if it comes from me. I will then remind you of your incident for you to think about. When you see features on television or posters reminding you of our conversation, you will know that I have spoken to you as a friend, accompanying you on your ascension, reminding you of your own divinity, as a friend to remind you that you are a high being in a human body, and high beings do not judge, nor do they judge others. The most you can judge is yourself, so be honest with yourself. Now it is time to end this recording so as not to cause my earthly friend any distress. She knows what I'm talking about. Read my chapter in the Book of Bella Isis and you will know what I mean by that. Take my words as an ally and not as your judge. I now bid you farewell and retire to my realm. I am with you, God Anubis.